the pleasure of talking with Laurent Nicolas of College Grasset, and the issue that we're going to explore is what is a good way of testing learners' writing online now that most teachers are in a position where they have to teach and evaluate online. So what's the best way of doing this? And some of the things that we talked about in our brief discussion is using Google Docs, sharing Google Docs, using the more and more popular and amazingly useful communication tool called Zoom, and then also the virtual writing tutor, which is also a fantastic corrective feedback tool for both writing and speaking. So let me jump into the Zoom exchange I had with Laurent on this topic. So let me call it up here and take it away. Record, so it's done. So good to speak to you, Laurent. So tell me, your main concern now, you're teaching at Grasset, if I understand, and one of your, what levels you're teaching, by the way, Laurent?
I'm teaching 4 groups of 2 or 3, and regular groups of 2 or 3 between 25 and 30 students. So it's 103B, if you want.
Okay, so you're oh yeah, because the numbers differ from CEGEP to CEGEP. So you're doing the second 103 level.
Correct, yes. And for those guys, research projects, I'm not experiencing too much trouble moving to an online distance method platform with Zoom, and but I have this tiny group of 100. There are 3, and so I think it's a great group to experiment different methods. So I'm using Zoom also to meet with them and give them very personalized, feedback and conversations. But it just happens that with people who are in the 100 level, the temptation to get someone else to write your homework or your assignments is there. It exists. With 103B, so the second year of 103, usually they are themselves the most skilled person they know in writing or in speaking. So the temptation to outsource your work is lesser. So with 100, I've noticed that probably 1 or 2 out of the 3 is possibly outsourcing to mom, dad, or somebody else the writing. So I would like, when I read Nick Walker's comment that at Hensig they were experimenting with Google Docs, I think, so that there are several versions of one document and you can watch the writing in progress on different screens at the same time. I became curious about this because I think it would be very doable with my small group of 3. I would like to try it out. And next week on Thursday, they have their second writing test, and I'm going to present them with a surprise subject. They have to develop a short essay in response to a story they've read, talking about gender stereotypes. So my question to you is, how can I supervise live the progress of their work? I'm going to give them an hour and 20 minutes to write something from beginning to end, and I would like to be able to follow the progress of their writing. And at the end of those 80 minutes, 85 minutes, 90 minutes, I'm going to collect the work. And then it won't be accessible to them for further modifications.
Right. Well, let me just say that's interesting what you're doing, and having students maybe practice writing through the virtual writing tutor. I don't know if you're aware of all the features on the virtual writing tutor, but they can actually go in there and write. You said you're giving them a short essay, so I assume it's something like, what, 100, 150 words?
Yeah, a maximum of 250. That's
okay,
what
250 words, good. So actually to practice writing, because you're putting them in an assessment situation, right? You're going to grade this for a certain score. How much is it going to be worth?
15%.
15%. So are you getting them somehow to practice writing?
No, they have already written an essay with me. They've received feedback and tutoring on how to structure it, how to write it, transition expressions. So they've had the practice. What they're going to do is, again, before this assessment, they're going to review the structure of what is expected of them. They're going to prepare by reading the story in question, and then they will receive this surprise question, which is going to be related to the story they've read, and they have to write a response to that question. in the shape of an essay. So they have already received training and feedback on how to write an essay. They've done it once.
Okay, you gave them that feedback
Yes.
orally or in writing?
Yeah, in writing, both in speaking, in a Zoom meeting, and in writing.
Okay, excellent. So what we had done, and I don't think you attended the CJEP Save the Semester sessions.
No, I was in class at that time.
Yeah, these Save the Semester sessions where we had up to about 30 teachers together in Zoom, and actually Nick came up with the idea of putting in the agenda and so on in a Word doc that could be shared.
Okay.
Do you use at all the apps in Google?
I use it for personal purposes. Usually I stay with the Microsoft suites for work, but I could go there definitely if you tell me that's the resource.
I know. Yeah, I know Microsoft is very popular at the CJEPs, and they use it at San Laurent. I don't use it. I prefer the Google system, and there you could share documents, and we did that actually. We shared that with all the teachers, this agenda as well as comments, and so what happens is in a live way you could have people collaborate on a document.
So it's on the same document, or
the same document.
Different versions of the same document.
You could have 3, 4, whatever number of people sharing the same document and then writing, and then see the real-time change in the document. Actually, you don't want to do that. You want individual students to write their own essay.
Correct. Yeah, this is what I want. They're going to receive a subject. I want them to start. Let's say that there's a master document with the topic on top, the assignment. Now they have their own copy of this. What I would like to do is to see the progress of their individual writing, maybe on a separate screen or on my own. I don't know how to do this. I'm asking you, is it possible for me to follow the progress of their individual separate writing?
Okay, so I actually haven't done this with Zoom, but you can experiment this. It would be to invite these 3 students to a Zoom session, a timed Zoom session, let's say for next Thursday. You know how to do an invitation, get their emails and invite,
no problem.
get them to invite them there, and so they would be on camera.
Right. I know that I don't want to use Zoom to follow the progress of the writing. I will be using Zoom to converse with them, answer their questions, but on a separate window, a Google window. Then I would like to be able to follow the progress of the writing. So if I have access, if they share this document with me, not through Zoom, but on a different window, follow the progress of the writing of their essay.
You see, the logic or the raison d'être behind using Zoom is because as many teachers are scared that students will be coached if you don't see what they're doing. So you could have Marie-Louise be writing, and she could have her boyfriend standing behind her helping her write.
No, I will be using Zoom and the camera so that I can see them and I can speak to them, but on a different window, watch the progress of the writing. You see, like when you see progressive, the addition to the new sentences, the corrections, going back and forth on a different window, and using the Zoom interface to speak to them and watch them.
Yeah, and to see them writing. So I would have them share their document in Google with you. It would be Marie-Louise Thursday writing sample or writing test that she would send to you, and you would be able to see her real-time writing. In that.
So what I have to ask them is to create a document and share it with me.
Exactly. It's as simple as that, Laurent, is for them to share a document, entitle it properly. I assume that they all have Gmail, but you don't need Gmail to actually use the Google applications or the Google apps. I mean, the students have Hotmail, and they have all kinds of stuff. They have, but many of them now, I find 80% have actual Gmail. So they're able to share a document with you. You would have them in Zoom. You'd have them live in Zoom. You'd tell them, I want to be able to see you writing. And some suggestions are even that they even put their camera, they move their camera onto their pen and pencil to show you, or onto their keypad that, they're not writing a pen and pencil. What am I saying? So that they're actually performing
without someone talking to them in the background. So that would be as simple as that, Laurent, is have them in
Okay.
Zoom in a group session, and there are only three. And in fact, with Zoom, as you know, you can do breakout rooms. Are you
Yeah.
aware of that? You can do
Well,
breakout.
I've been using it too. But my experiment will just be with a group of three, so I can see all three of them in the same
Yeah,
space.
you can experiment. So you would actually see them. You'd have to be there, of course. You'd
Yeah,
be
for the whole
invigilating.
time.
Yeah, you'd be invigilating, and then you'd
Exactly.
be seeing in a window, in several windows. You could open three windows, three tabs, with each of their writing sample, and
Okay.
and there you would and when they're finished, they continue sharing with you.
hmm So basically, before the beginning of the Zoom session, I would ask them to open a blank Google Doc, give it a title like writing assignment number 2, share it with me in advance so it's ready. And when the Zoom session begins, I give them the subject. They start taking notes, planning, structuring their ideas, and I can see this in progress on those separate windows on Google.
Live. Now, the only thing, as I said, I haven't actually done this kind of writing. I normally would have the students write in Moodle. I don't know, do you use Moodle?
No, we don't use Moodle at Grasset, and no.
Okay,
Short answer
unfortunately.
is no.
So, yeah, so unfortunately, because they could also write in Moodle as well, and you could see their real-time writing, but we won't go there. But the only issue that may present a problem is that when they're writing in their shared document, in another window on their computer, they might have already some. Are you letting them use a dictionary?
Yes, no, I want to be realistic here. They're writing from home. I'm giving them full access to the internet, to online dictionaries, and they will have the one way that I will be sure that they do the writing themselves because no one else knows the subject when the clock begins. They have the subject, they have the story next to them. They start producing their ideas on this Google Doc and they develop their own essay.
Yeah. And so they won't really have access to a thing like a corrector.
I guess they will have a corrector that is included in Google.
Yeah, they would have a kind of corrector
Now, I
because
don't want to deprive them. I don't want to deprive them of that tool because in those conditions, I want to be again realistic and pretending that I can have full control of what they have access to is delusional. So I want to we're going to do a writing exercise in which it's more realistic. In fact, you have access to whatever you have access, but the ideas, the structure, the references to the text, you have to come up with that.
right. But it's good that you've set it up in the way that they don't have the topic beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Now they will receive it at the beginning of the Zoom session.
Right, but they do know that they have to create a certain number of paragraphs.
No, they know. Look, I'll give the subject in a nutshell. They've just been through a unit about gender stereotypes. And I had them read an old version of Cinderella, from which they had to extract some gender stereotypes, situations, and refer to the text to back up their opinions. Now, I told them the writing session is on Thursday afternoon. On Wednesday night, I will share with you a new fairy tale. You'll have 24 hours to read it, underline it, annotate it as much as you want, look up the vocabulary. At the beginning of the Zoom session, I will give you a subject for your essay that will have something to do with gender stereotypes. So when they receive it, they will have to build an essay, and they've been trained to structure an essay. They'll have to build an essay that responds, that gives their own reaction to that question. They'll have to plan it, then write it. It's going to be short because I know that it's going to be live. They have an hour and 30 minutes to write this, so it's going to be a short essay. The structure has to be clear, but the substance is going to be light. So they're going to go through one argument to the next with little development, but just something precise but short. So they know what kind of exercise is expected of them. They don't know the specific question they have to respond to. That's all.
But just from my own understanding, will it be 2, 3, 4 paragraphs?
Yeah, well, the typical introduction, 2 or 3 paragraphs of development, meaning 2 or 3 main arguments supporting the thesis, and then a conclusion that insists on the thesis and an opening about a final thought or reflection on the topic. Something very typical.
Okay, so they know that they know that they will have to follow that structure. Again, I go back to the usefulness of the virtual writing tutor, where Nick has prepared something for, I think it's 101 level, or is it 100 level students. Diane Boisvert was working, where we have a sample opinion essay, and there's also an essay planner in the virtual writing tutor. They can actually plan their essay, the opening, the thesis statement, arguments, and so on, that you might want to look at in the virtual writing.
I'll look into it. And possibly what I could do is, I know how this works because Nick developed a similar tool for assessing cover letters. So I could tell them that at the end of the Zoom session, before they hand in, quote unquote, hand in their essay, they have to enter it, copy and paste it into the virtual writing tutor for a quick assessment by the robot, make final changes, and then submit it to me.
Tell me, that's interesting, because there we're sort of crossing the line between formative evaluation and summative evaluation. This is a summative test, correct?
It is.
Do you have at that level, I know at the 102 level, 103 level, there are objectives that involve revising an essay?
Right. Yes. Usually I dedicate the last 10% of a 100% score to correcting the mistake. So I usually underline, annotate an essay, I return it to them, and they have to get their final 10 marks. They have to understand my code, go through their mistakes, or with a virtual writing tutor, look at the comments and apply those suggestions.
Right, so there I would suggest that they have their version 1 essay, which will be which one that you will use for the summative assessment. They will run it through the virtual writing tutor to get comments, feedback on grammar, vocabulary, and if you look at the opinion essay, it's in the, if I could show you, I could share my screen.
Go ahead, yeah.
If I'm in the, let's see if I'm in here, if I share my screen here, so share my desktop, actually, that's a useful thing to do. And I'm in the grammar checker I'm in the virtual writing tutor, and we have essay tests here, and we have essay engage in persuasion. Let's see now here. Oh yeah, there's an argument essay, there's an opinion essay, and a body paragraph evaluation. So you might want to look at here, and here is, for example, is where you have an example where they would, let's see if I can go back here, task introduction. Actually, you could see, does it give? Here. Oh yeah, and they could see a sample opinion essay, and they have instructions here. Here, they have an opinion essay outliner, and then they have first paragraph, which is what you were talking about, begin the essay, context, thesis, body paragraphs, final.
That's great, yes. Definitely I could use this.
This is excellent, and you could go into the opinion essay, let's say open in a new tab here. If I open it, so you do have an example here of the testimony of eyewitnesses, which has 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, and if they actually copy that into the virtual writing tutor, you're going to get a pretty good score, because they would put their text here into, and then you click on finished, and they would get a score. So I would highly recommend that you look at that and perhaps even suggest that to students to practice. And then, as I mentioned, there's the outliner. If I go back, anyway, I won't stay there. So that's quite useful.
Excellent. Well, I think that I have all the tools now and the structure to do this. Asking them to create Google Docs in advance, share them with me so that it's ready.
Exactly.
Planning the Zoom meeting, allowing them to know that the subject will be given to them at the beginning of that Zoom meeting, how much time they have, and what tools they're allowed to use during that Zoom meeting to correct the language, even find ideas, because after all, I cannot control and then at the end, how they can use the virtual writing tutor for a final correction, possibly as a second writing session.
Exactly. So there, just to reiterate what I'm saying is that so they have their initial they have their initial version of the writing, which you'll count for 90% or 80% or whatever, 90%. Then they would correct it with the virtual writing tutor, and then have a revised version that would count for 10%. And there, students have an opportunity to maybe even get a full 10%.
Yes, that's it. That's the plan.
So yeah, that's the point. And as I say, Nick is so and for him, it's so important for students to have that kind of improvement and to see, oh, I got maybe 70% on my first score, and then I made these changes and I got 90%. And
yeah, there's a psychological effect.
Exactly. So the teacher becomes a helper rather than a hindrance.
A judge, or just a judge.
Exactly, a judge. Good.
Well, Frank, that was great. That answers my questions. I'm going to plan around that, experiment with my 3 students, and then possibly later on apply this to larger groups.
Exactly. The other issue about speaking, again, you could use Zoom to hear people speak.
Oh yeah, but that's what I'm doing already. I've planned a speaking evaluation on Monday with the same group of 3, and it's just going to be that session with all 3 of us plus me, well, all 4 of us, and yeah, they will perform in front of the others. So I think for speaking, it's not an issue. It's really like it makes sense. It's logical. It's just a long distance way of speaking to people, and this is why I insist that eye contact and even body language is just as important, if not more important, when you're Zooming, because you cannot move around, you cannot use your legs. You've got to be physically engaged with your audience.
Let me recommend, if you're looking for a kind of application, I don't know if you've used Screencast-O-Matic. Have you?
I'm using PC. What's your question again?
No, are you aware of the online application, speaking application called Screencast-O-Matic?
No, I'm not.
You should know that. Screencast-O-Matic is a free application. You just go into Screencast-O-Matic, and what students are able to do is, and I have them do it at actually more at the 102, 103 levels, they can create their own video presentation.
Okay.
And they could do it either individually or in group. And what you would do, so what would happen is sometimes when, because I have students do at the either 102 or the 3 level, I have them do short talks. These are 5-minute presentations that are slide based on a particular issue. So I remember one year, one fun guy in 102, he did his thing on how to prepare a cheese sandwich. He was kind of a funny guy. He said it was a great way for me to impress my girlfriends on creating. So he had a PowerPoint presentation on creating a cheese sandwich. So he had maybe 7 or 8 slides, and then he had himself in a mirror in a window like this in Screencast, because with the webcam you can record yourself, you can record the PowerPoint or the Google slide presentation. You can see the time at the bottom of the page, and I don't want them to talk more than 4 or 5 minutes, and they can save it as an MP4 file and then send it to you for evaluation. And
which they can do with Zoom.
With Zoom, they would probably need to share their screen. I think it's simpler as a tool in Screencast-O-Matic, because you have an MP4 file with a PowerPoint presentation. It may be a little bit more of an issue where they would have to share their screen with you and then record it and then save it. Anyway, it's something to test out Screencast-O-Matic. I even have my upper level 103 students do presentations, and then sometimes even group presentations with Screencast-O-Matic. Anyway, that's a suggestion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I think that answers all my questions. Thank you very much, Frank.
My pleasure, Laurent.
That exchange with Laurent on evaluating writing online useful, and that you can apply to your own teaching. If you have any successes in online teaching at this time of the year, or doing a pilot project and you'd like to share, please reach out to me at frank at frankbunkowski.com, and we can set up an interview and get you talking and sharing your pedagogical ideas. So thanks for listening. Bye now. See you soon.